Welcome to Trigger Talk, episode 3. Here we have Matt with us today, who's a member of Kilo 3. He's also widely known as the Gun Whisperer. That's what we're going to call you.
Okay.
So how'd your day today?
Day's going good. Day's going good. It's hot outside. But
Yeah.
It is not hot in here, so that's a solid.
It gets hot in here sometimes. It's because
glad
all
it's
the
not.
soundproofing.
Yep. Fair.
So we're just going to get right into this. What was your first airsoft replica that you remember?
So I was 13 years old. I got a JG G36C
Okay.
for Christmas, and my brother got a SEMA AK back when they were decent guns, right?
Yeah.
$109, metal gearbox. The AKs were full metal, real wood. And that's actually the first gun that I learned to do tack work on.
Okay.
I broke it within a week and had to figure out how to fix it. So, yep.
So what exactly was the problem?
Oh man, that's a long time ago. So the gears kept jamming. It was something to do with the anti-reversal latch. I think what happened was the pistons on those were so crappy that it shifted to the side, so it kind of like locked in the gear
Okay.
for the sector gear. And honestly, just taking it apart, replacing the piston, and I probably didn't need to replace the anti-reversal latch, but I did anyway, and it fixed itself. So
Yeah.
that's normally what it is. Take it apart, put it back together, and a lot of the time it works.
That sounds exactly what happened with my ARP
Yeah.
when it was the AAG.
Yep.
Just everything would go wrong.
Mhm.
Replace something with a part that it probably didn't need,
Yep.
and then it works.
Yep. Throw parts at it until it fixes it. Yep. I get that. The I think I heard you talking about it before too. The ARP, they're like $300.
Mhm.
Not that great. Like
Not that great for the price.
Yeah, I mean you get the G&G G2 gearbox, so you get like the electronic trigger assembly, but otherwise it's still basically just a combat machine inside of a $300 shell that's
Yeah.
still plastic. So I get that. You went HPA. That was a good choice.
I did go HPA.
It was a good choice.
So about teching, what's the wildest tech emergency you've had happen, just in general, like either someone else you helped out or your own replica, like on a game day?
So, man, that's a hard question. So I've had like little things happen here and there that are just interesting. I had a SEMA MP5 at one point where I found out it was an overheating issue. I took it out, didn't fire, would not shoot. I would walk back to the car. I'm like, I'll test it at the chrono station. Shoots. I'm like, what the heck? So walk back out to staging or to CP, doesn't shoot. I walked back and forth like 4 or 5 times. In CP, would not shoot. At chrono area, it would shoot. Chrono area had shade, so it was cooling down. So that's one thing. Probably like the worst emergency per se was I was doing a Milsim event. I forget if it was AMS or MSW, and one of my buddies had a VFC 416. Lipo caught fire, melted out the stock, the wiring, his MOSFET at the time, motor, and I had parts in my bag. So in the grass at the event, ripped it apart, it was like the first hour of, I think it was a 24-hour event.
Jeez.
Yeah. So ripped it apart, put it back together. It worked. He had like a duct tape on, melted stock. The thing smelled like fire, but cranked through the rest of the event and was good to go. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So what is your like best quick tip to diagnose a gun if like for some reason it just stops working?
So 99% of the time, if I'm at the field and someone comes up to me, hands me a gun, and they say, I plugged in a battery and it's doing nothing, right? When someone says it's doing nothing, you always listen for, like, you plug the battery in, you pull the trigger. If you hear it click, like if you hear the motor try, a lot of the time the anti-reversal latch gets stuck, or the trigger trolley gets stuck from the cutoff lever. So first thing you do is flip it into full auto. If it fixes it, it's a standard problem with V2 gearboxes, right? If that doesn't fix it, a lot of the time the piston's stuck back, but you don't have enough battery draw to actually like rotate the assembly. So you take off the motor grip, you pull the anti-reversal latch. That's another easy one. But the most common thing that happens, and I'm talking every single open play I've been at, almost every event I've been at, when someone hands me a gun, you pull the trigger with a battery in it, it does nothing, pull off your motor plate, you plug back in the connector that popped off your motor, because it always happens.
Okay.
That is the easiest way. Like, that is the first thing you check with an AEG. Other than that, generally, you got to take the thing apart and figure out what happened.
Is there any particular type of replica you prefer?
Right now, definitely M4 style platforms. V2,
Okay.
simple. I've had a lot of different platforms. I've tried, the cool guy stuff. I've had AKs. I've had almost every single LMG, except for some of the newer LMGs like the MG4, stuff like that on the market. And I always go back to ARs just because they're easy. They're Legos, parts for them, easy to get. And if they don't work, generally I can fix it pretty quick.
Okay.
So, yeah, M4 platforms. for
So you also did mention in the form that I put out that you are very into car stuff.
sure. Yep.
Is there any way that teching and airsoft and cars like translates to each other?
Directly, probably not. It's just, I think, the straight mechanical mindset, right?
Okay.
So I started teching early on airsoft guns, and as soon as I got my driver's license, got cars and started wrenching on those. So yeah, I mean, it's not like looking at a gearbox, you're gonna know how a engine works, right?
Well, yeah.
But just the mechanical mindset and being able to physically like work on things is really all you need. And YouTube, lots of YouTube. Yep.
So speaking on that, what was your first car?
My first car was a '06 Scion TC. My first fun car was a 1991 MR2 Turbo, and I still have that car.
Okay.
I might not have that car soon, but I still do. Right now we have a pretty cool Corolla. We have a Miata MR2, and then my truck. But yep.
Okay. Is there any memorable events you can think of, like more recent events?
Yeah. So this year we've been to 2 events so far. We went to Apocalypse by OWP. That was pretty good. It was 12 hours straight. And we went to another event this year, GGP. Last year we did a GGP event, and that's kind of what drew us to this one. It was a 24-hour.
Okay.
And this last event for us personally didn't go so hot, but the 24-hour that we went to was absolutely incredible. So that's probably the most memorable one. I've realized that it might not sound like it, but 24-hour events I like more than 12 hours.
Okay.
And 24-hour events, it's kind of sounds backwards, but 12-hour events generally you're running gunning the whole time. You're like running everywhere.
Yeah.
And you do not have a break at all. Like, you get yelled at for sitting down. And it's rough, right?
Yeah.
It makes the attrition terrible. And it makes it a lot harder. Whereas like the 24-hour event, right? We would go out on a patrol, get into contact, have a firefight for like 3 hours, be absolutely whooped, and then we could go back to CP and sit down, and then they'd send out a different squad for patrol. And it just made it a lot easier being able to have that slight amount of downtime and not be expected to run the entire time. And also in turn, like with the 24-hour, it meant we could sit around and, fuck off, essentially. I can say that? Can I say that?
You can
Is
say
it
that.
bleeping? Okay.
I can bleep it. It's going on
Okay.
my personal YouTube, so.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we at some point hit up Tony. He made a vlog for that that event, and it is absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give us memorable, um, like just in general from his vlog that you first thing you can remember that happened?
Him and I were sitting down in the grass. It was nighttime. We were just outpost watch with our night vision, and just the conversation was hilarious. He has it in the video where where it's just black and you just hear our conversation. It is really funny. We had another moment on that event where we were overwatching like this valley. I'll send you a clip for it. We were overwatching this valley to see like troop movement, and we were so far out of BB range. I'm talking like 800, 900 yards on a shooting range, right? And we're just sitting there, binoculars, all of our gear off, just chilling, like watching people. We're seeing people down the valley. We're waving at them. It was just fun. It was a lot of fun.
So, you did say that you do you personally own night vision, or did you rent for this event?
I do, yeah. I have a excuse me, an Elbit 8 PVS 14.
Okay.
So single tube. A few of our guys have night vision. Tony has night vision as well. He has an analog tube. Mine's analog. We have a few guys with digital that we're trying to convince to drop some bread and buy some expensive tubes. But yeah, it's one of those things where some of the guys at the field at R&M ask me if they should buy night vision. My answer is always no.
Okay.
If you're not going to use it for real steel shooting, or if you're not going to be doing events every single month where you're going to be running them, they're too much money, man.
Yeah.
Get the Temu digitals. It'll be fine. It's airsoft.
Yeah. So, do you prefer nighttime games or daytime?
I think I prefer daytime games.
Okay.
I do love. There's like a fun factor with running night vision, but at the same time, you don't get in engagements as much. It's not as crazy.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just fun walking around with night vision. No one else can see you unless they have nods. Yeah, definitely night game or daytime games. I think I prefer.
Okay. Is there any particular Kilo event that you're looking forward to?
Like events that we're running?
Either events that you're running or events that the Kilo team's gonna be going to.
So we have a lot.
General.
We have a lot of events on our schedule this year that we're going to. We're going to be going down to Georgia for, I think it's Iron Horse.
Okay.
So I'm excited for that. But shameless plugs, chemtrail. Tony has that on lock. It is going to be sick.
Yeah.
You guys
saw the video right before he came to the podcast.
Okay, so he has some stuff in the works for that game that is going to make it insane. I did some 3D printing for him for some crazy, I wouldn't even say props, some in-game items that are, it's going to be wild. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, as far as games we're hosting, that one's going to be a lot of fun. But trip down to Iron Horse is going to be a good time.
Now, Tony did mention on the previous podcast about I forget the Halloween event this year, how that was going to be also more of like a crazy event.
Yep.
So, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the event you're going to be running?
Yeah. So the Halloween event's going to be, it's going to be more in depth. We've had about 2 years ago we started doing events, and we do it in a light manner where we try to accept literally anybody, right?
Yeah.
Someone can come in with jeans and a sweatshirt and buy a rental and play in the event. Right?
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of the events we run. And why we try to not dip too heavily into like rule sets and crazy milsim stuff, but also still try to have an aspect of it, right? You see it with our weapon rules and stuff like that. But the Halloween event was always intended to be, I wouldn't say like a role play event, but still have that like role play aspect, right? So you're not going to see, or you might see heavy force on force because sometimes people just like shooting each other.
Yeah.
But the Halloween event's not going to be super heavy force on force. I'd imagine chemtrail there's a lot of RP style to it, but there's going to be a lot of firefights. And then later on down the schedule, we have, and we haven't released names yet, but we have 2 more events. We have one that Liv, my wife's hosting, or
Okay.
gonna plan and organize. And then one that House, he's the bigger guy that
Yeah.
runs the LMG, he's going to be hosting. Those are going to be more force on force, but Tony's also helping with props, so we'll have the kilo bomb prop and some other props that I'm not going to talk about.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
It's going to be a fun time.
Okay. So what's your opinion on events that have like a continuing storyline? Like for example, like the Revelations events, how like
Yeah.
it plays into the next event that happens.
Yeah. I like it. It is hard to do. A lot of
Yeah.
the big mill sim companies do it too. I mean, you have, like I said, we're going to Iron Horse. I think this one's Iron Horse 9, right?
Yeah, I was looking at going to Pressure Cooker.
Yep.
Um,
I think they're on their what, 4th?
it was like
Third.
7.
It's 7?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, some of those events, I mean, they just tack on a number, right? It's the same
Yeah.
event. It doesn't play on to itself. Rev does in a way. I've been to Rev. Honestly, not my style. It was fun, but
It's a lot more role play based.
yeah, it's not. It wasn't even that. My first time at Ballahack, and not to knock Ballahack, cool field, cool ownership. Their store's incredible. It just wasn't what I expected. You see the Sniper videos, right?
Yeah.
He makes it look incredible. I'm sitting there like, oh, like the town's gonna be insane. The whole field's gonna be insane, and I don't want to say I was disappointed in any way, but it was not as hyped up as I expected it to
Yeah.
be. But to your point, they do play into previous years, so it was actually to a point where I couldn't complete the game because I wasn't there the previous year and couldn't get certain tokens because I hadn't been there the previous rev. So it's kind of a little game breaking, but
Yeah.
it was still fun. Yeah.
Okay. So, just sorta on that note, but not really. How can other people? I asked Tony the same question. Get involved
In events,
in Kilo events specifically.
in kilo events,
Like-
that is a good question. We
We talked about like the community work days and
Yes.
stuff like that, and just consistently showing up to them and stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna start to do the community work days. It's kind of been open for everybody. We have kind of a log where we say what we're gonna do. Unfortunately, like we haven't had much interest up until recently, right?
Yeah.
But we started talking this year about we generally when we intake people for kilo or like for help, it's because we already know them, we're friends with them,
Yeah.
and we've had a lot of people that have asked how to join the team. We don't have like we started making a form
Yeah.
essentially, and up until that we had no way of doing it. Also in turn like with field days. So as far as like community involvement, getting people involved with R&M, we have the R&M Discord now, so
Yeah.
we try to post up there, and essentially if you see something, you got a free day if you want to come out. I know Zevin has kind of incentives now to do
Yeah,
it.
like play after or
Yeah.
free play or whatever.
Yep, come out for a full day of work, we'll give you a free pass, which is fair trade-off, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
So, this is a question that was really hard for Tony to answer. And I'm assuming it's probably going to be really hard for you to answer as well. How do you see Kilo 3 or just the R&M field in general in 5 years?
5 years is a long time.
Well, Tony was telling me about how he never could imagine that Kilo 3 would come to this point when he first helped
Yeah.
start it.
Yeah, so as far as like Kilo, I actually didn't start with Kilo, right?
Yeah.
It was Tony, Anthony, Tommy started Kilo probably like 5 years ago. And I jumped in like 2 years ago. I was at an open play. They're like, hey, you need to run an event with us. I was like, I've been to a lot of events before, but normally I I don't know if you've heard of Dark Horse 6. A long time ago, I used to play with them. There was a team called VOA that I played with a little bit, and I would go to events with. But up until then, I wasn't like solidified in a team. So I joined Kilo, or went to an event with them. They asked me to join. And then from there, it kind of like rose up. I had the connection with Seven already.
Yeah.
I was helping him with the field. And that kind of spawned into, now it's not just me, it's a whole team. Like, what do you want us to do? Right. So in the past 2 years, we've been trying to kind of rebuild the field. We're in a space now where, with the field where, money is not necessarily tight, but it's tight, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people think airsoft fields, Zulu excluded, because Zulu I'm sure makes money hand over fist, but we don't, right?
Yeah.
And most airsoft fields don't. So we try to do what we can with the monetary amount we have. So in 5 years, I hope that our community grows. I hope that we're able to bring in a little bit more cash, because in turn, more cash means more field development, right?
Yeah.
We have the store we're building right now, and that's almost finished. We have some delays in that, as far as, I don't know if you've ever dealt with NICEAG. NICEAG sucks. Fix your shit, NICEAG. But the interior of the store is almost done. We need to lay some floors. After that's done, we want to build a speedball/kill house in that open field. And then we want to extend out across from where the store is. That's all Zevin's land right now. So we want to extend that out too. So once that speedball field's open and running, we're going to be able to go back to the current field and basically rip everything down and redo it. I'm sure you're aware of the castle modification they tried to do, or I shouldn't say tried to do. They did in 4 hours. I think we all agree it's not the best. So
Are you talking about the duct tape that they did
we're not going to talk about
at the at Abyssal Attrition?
Yeah, we're not. I literally, not knocking on anybody who did it at all. They at least they came out right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting at Thunderdome, and we didn't help with the castle. We're sitting at Thunderdome, and Zevin sends me pictures of the new castle, and I'm like, what happened?
It's such a pain to get up onto it.
Happened, yeah. So the plan is to knock that down, knock all of it back, and I think what we may do is take the castle, and that center courtyard, put the castle smack dab in the middle of it, so you have two attacking sides on the courtyard.
Okay.
And that also balances it for events when we open up the whole field, instead of having that castle push back on the side, and then you have literally everybody that spawns in that area just wants to sit in the castle.
Yeah.
Have it more central, so people can push to it easier from either side, I think is what we're going to do. But 5 years, I would hope that a lot more field development happens.
Okay.
I hope that we can grow the community, and in turn, it's going to grow Kilo, right?
Yeah. Me personally, I could have never imagined that the field would have grown so much since I started.
Yeah.
I started when I was 13. I think it was there was a previous owner.
Casey.
Yeah. Who had the APC
Yep.
and stuff.
Yeah, I
And
remember that. I started at R&M during that whole era. Casey, good dude. I don't know if you know Casey personally.
I didn't know them personally because I just went to like a couple events,
Mhm.
and then I like restarted doing airsoft again like right before COVID hit.
Yep.
But it was mainly like Zevin.
Yep. Yeah, so Casey had the APC. Whoever stole the radio out of it, I hope you get found. They're never going to get found. No one knows. But Casey had it. I don't know. I think that Casey just didn't have enough backing to help him, right? And I think that's where Zevin's different is, he has a really large community, ourselves included, where we just want to build the community. We want to build the field because, even though we don't have really any monetary gain from it, at the end of the day, the more we can build, the more fun it is for us personally.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like it's like a field that's open source format, kind of.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel? I don't know how to explain this. airsoft as a sport could grow. Like, um, just for example, I did a research paper
Mhm.
on how airsoft could become an Olympic sport with very specific things.
Mhm.
Just in general, how do you think it could grow?
I'm gonna hurt feelings, and this is all opinion. And I could be very wrong because paintball is an Olympic sport right now, right? I'm correct. I'm pretty sure
I'm
it
not
is.
sure.
I'm pretty sure at some point paintball was made or brought into the Olympics. Insane to me.
Yeah.
Um, I I don't see airsoft as a sport.
Okay.
Or rather, I see airsoft as much of a sport as I see hiking a
Okay.
sport. Right? It's physically intensive, but it's not like, I don't know, like with airsoft it being a game of honor, right? Versus paintball where you can see you hit someone.
Yeah.
That's where kind of it's hard for me to imagine it being a sport.
Yeah.
Right.
In my research paper,
Mhm.
it was I did some intense deep diving.
Yeah.
I found basically I should have just went into engineering degree instead of comm degree so I could actually make this happen.
Yeah.
Um, so basically, pressure plate suit, sort of like how fencing does it in Olympics,
Yeah.
but instead of metal contact, it would be like actual pressure plates
Yeah.
and like a 3 cam setup and all that.
Mhm.
It was
I
interesting.
mean, yeah, you could do that if you wanna wanna dive that deep, right? And it if someone considers it a sport, they'll go, dive as deep as you want.
Yeah.
But I think the extent of it as a sport is probably going to taper off with speed soft.
Yeah.
They do tournaments, so it's competitive. Once it's competitive, I guess it's a sport, right? But I don't think it's any more of a sport than paintball is,
Okay.
right?
So how any final thoughts really?
No, no. I think or I hope that we can, because you've been helping too, we can help the community grow at R&M. That's the whole reason Kilo's doing what we're doing. I don't think if R&M was around, we would be a team, right?
Yeah.
So just keep going to your local airsoft fields, keep supporting, right? Because that's the only way we stay open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this was Trigger Talk. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.